Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Man, does it feel awesome to be alive today in the United States of America. I'm just overjoyed because everybody has TDS. Do you know what TDS is, Butter?
Trump something.
Trump dance syndrome. Trump dance syndrome. Everybody has it. I want to start, though, with Dana White. I want to start, and I meant to play this just coming out of the opening. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is the 34-second SOT. It's the hit the reset button. SOT number 6. Tell me if this doesn't describe how we're all feeling. SOT 6. This is Dana White, founder of the UFC.
Well, if you saw the election, the entire country relates with Trump right now. Won all the swing states. The only states she won were the ones that you didn't need ID to vote in. It would have been interesting if you needed ID, how that would have played out too. I think that the whole country, it feels like somebody hit the reset button. Everything feels, and however this election went, everybody was hoping it was a blowout. Either way, so there would be no more bullshit. And what I think is, everybody's tired of the bullshit, man.
I'm not going to say BS, I'll just say BS, but we all are. And now everybody is doing the Trump dance. It's all taking over the sports world. Everybody has Trump dance syndrome. It's a new form of TDS. And man, does it feel good to be in America, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel off? It feels so good. I'm just going to take a little break here. You got to go to fearlessmission.com and become a subscriber. We're on the right side of this argument. We're on the right side of God as it relates to this argument. We have been pushing, trying to get people to understand that we can't allow Trump derangement syndrome to rule the country. And now I think we've moved into Trump dance syndrome is ruling the country. But become a Fearless Mission subscriber. Go to fearlessmission.com. Use my promo code Fearless40 to get $40 off your subscription. It's the best thing you can do as we continue to build on this momentum. I want to play you another Dana White clip. And it coincides, it has synergy with why you need to support Fearless, why you need to become a subscriber. Because everybody's aware, like the traditional media, it's dead. Let's play SOT number 7.
Like all the podcasters, so it seems like a lot of young men like relate well to Trump. So just like how the fighters kind of related to him tonight.
So I've had this philosophy for the last 5 years that traditional media is dead, and it doesn't hold the influence that it used to hold. The two most hated people in this world right now are the media and the politicians. Nobody trusts them. And nobody believes them. And the true influence right now is with these kids that are on the internet, and they're called influencers. So I've been creating relationships with these people over the last, like I said, 4 or 5 years. And this election was won on the internet.
This is John Jones, just to wrap this all together. Big, huge deal at UFC this weekend. John Jones is fighting. He's considered the baddest man on the planet. He's considered the most dangerous fighter in all of combat sports, more dangerous than anybody in the boxing lane, more dangerous than... He's basically ascended to Mike Tyson's throne. Mike Tyson was the last person that everybody kind of feared in the boxing universe and in just the combat sport universe. And so John Jones this weekend dominates with again, I'm not the greatest UFC expert, but he kicks the dude, Miopic, in the stomach, puts him down, immediately goes into his Trump dance, immediately goes over to Donald Trump, points at him, and it just kind of symbolizes what's going on in the sports world and what's going on in America. Donald Trump is actually the unifying force that we've been looking for. Now that everybody can dust off, go away from their Trump derangement syndrome and start dealing with reality, and as Dana White says, move away from the BS. Even, and we'll probably get deeper into this tomorrow. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it today because I want to deal with sports, and we got things in football, and we got, obviously Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fought. We got things we got to cover today. But this morning on Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski start off their show acknowledging that they went and met with Donald Trump and had a sit down with him at Mar-a-Lago either on Thursday or Friday of last week. Remember, just for 8 years, Morning Joe has been, Donald Trump is Hitler. He's a Nazi. He's an insurrectionist. Now, hey, let's fly down to Mar-a-Lago and see if we can make peace with Adolf Hitler. These people are phony, and they've been lying, and I've been saying forever that the sports world is critical to this entire psyop that they've been running. Nothing draws a bigger live audience or just a bigger audience than sports. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul in a little gimmick fight. 50, 60 million people went to Netflix. Everybody last Saturday night was watching John Jones. Donald Trump shows up with the dream team of his cabinet and all of his supporters. And all of these lies they've been told, Donald Trump is hated and he's Hitler, and no one can stand him. You got an entire arena there to see John Jones. And when Trump and his crew, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., when they show up, the place erupts and greets them like conquering heroes because everybody's tired of the BS. And there's all kinds of direct ways to show that you're tired of the BS, and then there's fun, subtle ways. And that's what John Jones did, and it's bleeding over. Look, it's bleeding over into the NFL. It's like men have been liberated, and we don't have to go on with this cosplay that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy or women or, oh my God, or we're all going to go back to slavery. It's back to black people. We don't have to do that anymore. Donald Trump is actually uniting us. Tell me, and again, my memory can be fuzzy, and I wasn't as immersed in the political world then as I am now. But this kind of widespread joy that's cutting across economic lines, cutting across racial lines, cutting across ethnic lines. Did we have that when Barack Obama was elected president? And you can say, yeah, hey, black people and leftists, they were overjoyed. And it's the exact same feel. I don't think it is. I really don't. And I did not vote for Barack Obama. When Barack Obama sold out his minister, Jeremiah Wright, I dusted Barack Obama. Not that I was ever all that into him, but when he dusted his minister, you sit in the church for 20 some odd years, and then all of a sudden, in order to be president, you'll denounce your minister. That was a lack of loyalty that was too far for me, and I was like, okay, this guy's just a politician, miss me with all that. I'm good not voting. Second time he ran, I knew exactly who he was, and I certainly wasn't voting for him. But I just don't remember this optimism and joy. And look, my memory is probably wrong. And maybe there was this unifying feeling. Maybe there was this joy, and I'm just misremembering, or I have such a bias against the left that I can't even fully recognize. But what's going on right now in this country? I don't remember athletes. feeling so compelled to come out of the closet and say, hey, look, I'm a Trump supporter. Let me do something to show that I have Trump's back. Let's play this is, I think, just from this weekend, a compilation of athletes doing the Trump dance across athletic fields and arenas. It's everybody, man, black, white, everybody. Trump is fun. Trump is joy. Trump is the unifying force. This is, I can't remember this feeling of every day just like excited, like what good news am I going to find out next? And you know, it's an unbelievable feeling, and there will be people trying to rain on it. I want to show you guys this tweet from Bakari Sellers. He's some kind of CNN contributor, MSNBC type contributor. He ran for political office once. He's a side, but he put out this tweet: "Blacks for Trump, don't worry. We just want y'all to know you're not qualified." This picture of Trump's cabinet. And I want to break some news to Bakari Sellers and everybody else that loves to play identity politics, loves to play diversity, equity, and inclusion politics. There are some of us, black people, and it ain't, I know it's not many, but there are some of us that prioritize values over skin color. There are some of us more concerned with policies over skin color. I don't care if Donald Trump names a single black person to his cabinet. I care about whether the policies that they enact make it easier for Christians and patriotic Americans to live, work, and prosper in this country. All of this symbolism that you all think will fix things, I completely disagree with. A symbolic Indian woman pretending to be black president would not fix anything. So what I'm excited about is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy gutting the government. The government is killing average, everyday Americans. The government, this all-inclusive government, is destroying families across America, and it's gone on for 60 or 70 straight years, maybe longer. Maybe we go back to FDR and all of his policies. The government is in the way of God. And so I don't care. I don't need a color-coded cabinet. I need people that I trust and Donald Trump trusts to do the job of draining the swamp. I know that's an unbelievable thought and belief for someone like Bakari Sellers who think, and many black people who think, oh God, yeah, Barack Obama's gonna be president and things are going to improve for us. No, things improve for gay people. That's what happened. That's the reality. Nothing improved for us with a color-coded presidency. And so, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And just because Bakari Sellers wants to be a fool doesn't mean the rest of us have to be. And so the rest of us are going to lean into this joy, recognize the fact that the hypocrites, the liars, the propagandists that have said in the media and say, oh, this guy's Adolf Hitler. Oh, he's a fascist. Oh, he's going to put black people back in chains. You're going to be picking cotton. They're liars. They want us enslaved to the government because they're enslaved to the government. They're in bed with the FBI and the CIA. We're not. I'm not. Rational people are not. this is, I mean, to what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. I want to play shot number 1 of John Jones acknowledging God. This is what we need more of in sports.
How do you feel right now?
You know what? While I got the moment, while everybody's cheering and so happy, I want to acknowledge Jesus Christ. I tell you what, man, I cannot take credit for a gift like this, man. I really owe it all to him. And I know that there's millions of people around the world watching right now. And I just want to let you guys know that Jesus loves you so much. That's all I'll say about that.
So walk me through it. The left has their African-American savior, Colin Kaepernick. Has he ever said anything like that at any time when he had the spotlight and had the stage in the NFL? Ever said it? When he was taking a knee and had everybody's attention, did he ever talk about Jesus Christ? Ever? Did it ever happen? I know he's got the big afro. I know he occasionally wore cornrows. I know he misquoted Malcolm X. But did he ever honor our Lord and Savior? Because it's not his. He's a Marxist. The entire leftist movement is Marxist. These people hate God. And so I'm overjoyed. And as you can hear, people in that audience at that UFC fight, when this man shouted out Jesus Christ, everybody started cheering, or a lot of people did. I'm overjoyed. This is, it's what I've said it over and over and over. What a time to be alive. But what a time to be alive. Let's play the shot number 4, John Jones presenting his championship belt to President Trump.
Tonight, it is all about John Jones sharing the belt there with the president-elect Donald Trump. Americans, largely historically, have realized the most success in the UFC. And the greatest American fighter of all time is that man, John Bones Jones, now successful in the first defense of his heavyweight title. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of UFC. Easy to celebrate, easy to enjoy. And celebrating they are indeed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in Endicott.
Y'all can hate me. Y'all can hate MAGA. Y'all can hate Trump supporters. Y'all can be upset. Oh, we didn't get Kamala Harris and the black queens, and America hates black women. No, America loves America, and they want a president that loves America. They want a president who will enact policies that support values like free speech, which without free speech, there's no freedom of religion. That's the kind of president they want. Not one that's pro-censorship, not one that's running around they, theming everybody and he, himing and announcing his pronouns. Is Donald Trump a flawed individual? Absolutely. So am I, and so is everybody that can hear my voice. Does he have a problem with sin? Yes, he does. So do I, and so does everybody that can hear my voice. Are the policies he's backing more in line with my values and what I would like to see happen in this country and many other people that are believers? Yes, they are. And that's why I will not apologize for supporting this man and for gloating, recognizing that the wind is at his back. This man has withstood the persecution that many of you pretend like you could withstand. You couldn't. You can't even stand up to your wife, your daughter, some woke idiot at work. But you think you're better than Donald Trump. You're not. You've bought into a matriarchal worldview. You've bought into the belief that some woman could lead this country better than a man. Oh, you can't, Jason, you can't say that. That's sexist. Yes, it is. I don't care. And to be honest, it's not sexist, it's biblical. I want to show you this last clip of Trump and his crew. They show up at an event and they're not bringing on Megan Thee Stallion or Beyonce or Cardi B to lead the crowd in twerking, to lead the crowd in a bunch of profanity, into a bunch of sexual perversion. I'm not saying they're free of sexual perversion. They keep it at home, keep it in private. But when they get a big crowd, they're leading the crowd in chants of USA, USA. This is the most unified the country's been in God knows how long. Let's play SOT number 5.
Every single time I've stepped inside Madison Square Garden,
That is the group that I can support. It bled over even into the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I don't know. Did you watch that, Butter? What would we call that?
I call it an exhibition, but it was a sanctioned fight.
But it was more than an exhibition. It was a circus, I think. It was I'm not sure what that was.
It was a made-for-TV event.
Yeah, a made-for-TV event, we'll call it that. But it even bled over into that. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson actually seemed to turn this circus that Netflix was in over its head doing, couldn't even get the streaming right. But these guys came off incredibly likable. And after the fight, Jake Paul, his post-fight comments, I thought were right in line. He wasn't as bold. He's been more bold in other videos and in other places where he's spoken directly about Trump and why he's a Trump supporter. But even after the fight, listen to Jake Paul, and he's right on message here about what's going on in this country.
Tonight's not about me, man. I wanted to give a thanks to all the real heroes, the U.S. military, the doctors, the nurses in the ER, the cops, the firefighters, the farmers, the truck drivers, all the people who make this world go around. Thank you, America. It's the era of truth. It's the era of good. There's a shift in the world, and good is rising. The truth is rising. I'm just honored to be a part of America, and it feels like we're back, baby.
He's wearing a red hat. I'm not sure if that's a MAGA hat or not, but he's saying the exact same thing as Dana White and everybody else. There's a shift going on in this country. And it's Donald Trump. It's the end of Trump derangement syndrome, and we're moving into Trump dance syndrome, and everybody's overjoyed about it. I hope you are. I hope you are. Look at your leaders. Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, and these other clowns. They're all backpedaling because they've all been lying to you. This man is not Adolf Hitler. This man is not perfect, but he's damn sure not Adolf Hitler. He's our last best hope to continue American freedom. He's the only person that had the stomach to stand up to the swamp, to stand up to these lying, Marxist, evil people that want to destroy what was left of American freedom. This was, other than Dion in Colorado blowing out, who did they just blow out? Utah. This was one of the greatest weekends of my life.
Jason, let me ask you a question with the whole Trump dance syndrome.
Yeah.
With this whole thing, the other layer to it that I think is fantastic is look at what song it's built around. YMCA. And the total meaning of that song, where it stemmed from, Young Men's Christian Association, the gay, I mean, like it has the whole thing, and it's just I think that's a whole nother element.
You brought up the only thing I got to give more thought to. I don't know about the YMCA song.
I think when you think about it, I think it actually says more about what's going on and is so perfect because it has so many connotations to it and everyone's loving it.
I agree. The Village People, man, that's a pretty gay band.
I know, it is.
Now, and I remember as a kid, and I'm obviously older than you, but we go to the roller skating rink, and everybody be skating YMCA, and we all did it as a kid. It is a joyful song. I will give you that. And it's funny that does define Trump's presidency, or that's the song that Trump's going to remember.
There's a lot behind there, I think, that says how great this moment is actually, how it's transcendent.
Clarify that.
Because it's a well-known gay song, but it was written by a straight guy. It's the Young Men's Christian Association. It had its own dance, probably the most famous dance in the world that now Trump somehow trumped into his own dance. It says everything about what's going on here that's fun. And
who wrote the song?
I don't know the guy who wrote it, but he was not a gay guy.
Was he in the Village People?
I think he's the straight cop. but you have these guys dressed up as characters. I mean, there's a lot there. I know maybe it's a whole nother conversation, but the song itself to me adds a whole nother layer to this.
It does. And look, there's nothing that anybody could say at this point to wipe the smile off my face. The only thing that angers me is the Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski thing angered me this morning because there's not an ounce of remorse in them. They have radicalized a group of people with their false propaganda, and they're not alone. They're just one of the ringleaders of it, waking up every morning and telling those lies, and oh my God, he's Adolf Hitler, and you're going back to slavery, and Russia this, and Ukraine that, and they've convinced that they've walked people away from their values, made people throw out their values and lean into their racial idolatry and their idolatry of women. This whole thing of like, oh my God, toxic masculinity, and Trump represents the patriarchy as if the patriarchy is something bad, and that, oh my God, if women were just in leadership, the world would be so much better. That's all BS. None of it is biblically based. None of it's biblically true. None of it's true. There's no history to support that entire narrative. It's interesting, and I didn't want to go there today, but I've just kind of fallen into it in terms of Trump met with these guys. I'm not sure if I would have had the discipline to do it that he met with them. And you know what, we're going to go ahead and play the clip. This is Joe and Mika talking about their trip to Mar-a-Lago. Play the clip.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
That is an emasculated man being led around by his woman. And that's why she's doing most of the talking. She's his MK Ultra handler or whatever. But I hats off to Donald Trump, because I'm so infuriated, and maybe Trump is so able to forgive or be magnanimous, because I'm sure he hadn't forgiven, is, his core team, his family has stuck with him. I think he's got some sister that may be off the reservation, but for the most part, his family has stuck with him. I don't think Mika Brzezinski and this whole group of leftists that demonized Trump, demonized his supporters, lied, and promoted a level of fear. No different than what they did during the whole COVID pandemic. Oh my God, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. There's gonna be a bloodbath of the unvaccinated, you're gonna die. Take these vaccines, take these boosters, take this fifth booster. The people that did that used fear to provoke people to take an untested medical trial that they passed off as a vaccine. They've never apologized either. The people that have been vaccine damaged, the people that finally figured out all the idiocy that they were promoting on TV, wear a mask here, blah, blah. If you walk through a restaurant, wear a mask. But when you sit down to eat, take it off. The people that sanction and affirm that lunacy never apologized. The people that said Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler and everybody that supports him is a Nazi, and that Donald Trump said, oh, there's very fine people that are racist and all these other hoaxes. They've never apologized for the lies. And so it's going to be very interesting for me if Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski get away with this. Something tells me they won't, that Comcast is trying to sell MSNBC, new ownership will come in and they'll get swept out. And maybe this is all just a desperate attempt to save face. But these people did incredible damage, not just through the COVID vaccine, but through all these separated families, radicalized family members, made people they don't even know that they're disavowing their religious beliefs because they've been so brainwashed. This is a cult. I just watched something this morning about Edward Bernays and Sigmund Freud and this whole propaganda era that we're living in, and how they use TV and these controlled puppets on corporate legacy TV to produce the kind of mass psychosis that we've all lived through over the last decade, really pronounced with COVID and even more pronounced with this whole Trump derangement syndrome deal. They created a mass psychosis of people trapped in their homes, watch TV 24/7, TV's on in their house constantly, and they're being brainwashed into a level of stupidity that walks them away from all of their alleged values into this extremist cult where they go, same-sex marriage, that's not that really a big of a deal. Oh, you know what? Transgenderism and cutting the balls off little boys and cutting the breast off little girls, that's not that big of a deal. Oh, murdering children, an abortion truck outside the Democratic convention, oh, that's not such a big deal. Don't you know, I don't like Trump personally. Trump is mean. What he says is terrible. What he says is somehow worse than what they did. This is the kind of lunacy that's been promoted in legacy media. Trump said, grab them by the P word. Democrats pull a truck up to their convention and jam things up women's P words and crush and kill a baby. Oh, but what Trump said in his private conversations, that's the real big deal. The entire corporate media structure needs to be demolished, and I hope that as we demolish the government, that we demolish this corporate media system that preaches all of this matriarchal, emotional, triggering news narrative. That needs to be destroyed too. We almost lost this country. There was a baseball player, a former professional baseball player, to put out a long post on X this weekend about how he's retired now and he regrets not speaking up. And I pointed out to him respectfully, because I do respect him. I was like, hey man, you know, these baseball players that are making millions of dollars and they're doing what they're told, and these other athletes doing what they're told, they almost cost us the country. We came this close. They just ran a woman for president, completely unqualified, got there on her knees servicing Willie Brown and other men. And we almost handed her the presidency because men were too afraid to do what everybody's doing now. John Jones and NFL players and everybody, Trump dance syndrome. Being truthful about what they really think and believe. We almost lost the country because men were too afraid to say what they really believe. Never again. Never again. And you know, we shouldn't be forgiving or too forgiving, because we certainly should forgive. I want to be biblically sound. We should not be too forgiving and let people that won't repent get away with the nonsense they just pulled. When we come back, we'll open up we'll bring Steve Kim in, talk a little bit about John Jones, what happened in UFC, talk about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, and we'll talk about Lamar Jackson. I think he just dropped the MVP baton and Josh Allen picked it up. We'll do that here in a second. Before we do any of that, I want to talk to you guys about our great friends at Preborn. You know why we support Preborn, because it's part of our worldview, that it's a part of our biblical view that life begins at conception. And once you embrace that worldview, then you start looking for organizations that embrace that worldview. No one does it better than Preborn. Preborn offers expectant mothers an ultrasound. They introduce that baby to the mother while the baby's in the womb through heartbeat, through an image. That woman is now twice as likely to choose life. And that's when Preborn really steps up and supports that woman throughout her pregnancy and potentially throughout the first 2 years of that baby's life if the woman qualifies and needs that type of assistance. Preborn is able to do this because we support them. We donate to Preborn. You've seen me have Dan Steiner, the founder of Preborn, on this show. Dan is a great man doing God's work. Dan's not stealing our money. He's not paying mid-level executives so they can have summer vacation homes. Dan is providing women ultrasounds. That's where our money goes. Each ultrasound costs $28. 5 ultrasounds is $140. Give whatever you can. Right now, we're looking for $5 donors, but we're also looking for people willing to give $5,000 who can afford to finance Preborn's entire organization and operation for one day. $5,000 gets them through 24 hours of Preborn's entire organization. We're looking for people that can be major donors like that. We'll take your $5, or Preborn will take your $5 and use it towards a good cause. Take your $28, your $140, your $1,000, your $500, whatever. Love for some of you to step up and give $5,000. 2 ways to give. Pound 250, say the keyword baby, pound 250, keyword baby, or give the way that I prefer to give, preborn.com/fearless. Preborn.com/fearless. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell, next.
I've been selling my stuff, hustling eBay, PlayStation car parts for little or no pay, so I can sit out here and watch the Titans play. Stumble on home and rub my blue balls away. It's a damn shame what the NFL has turned to for fans like me and fans like you. Wish I could just wake up in Patriots red, white, and blue, but I can't. This football nightmare's true. Living in a Madden world with Lombardi's soul. These cowards bound to feminists, Lord knows they all just want to wear pantyhose and control what you think. Wanna vex you and mask you, and they don't think we know that they drink Bud Light too. Cause these players don't hit, might as well have limp wrists. Cause of these cowards bowing down to feminists. I wish sports media would look out for fans and not just Taylor Swift promoting her brand. Lord, we out in the parking lot, tailgating, grilling meat, and the obese just can't wait to eat. Well, got it through a referee, and blind as a bat. Roger Goodell should grow a pair and give you the axe. We had Derrick Henry, we played ground and pound, but the idiot Titans chased our king out of town. Lord, it's a damn shame what the NFL has turned to for fans like me and fans like you. Wish I could just wake up in Patriots red, white, and blue, but I can't. This football nightmare's true. Living in a Madden world with Lombardi's soul. These cowards bound to feminists, Lord knows they all just want to wear pantyhose and control what you think. Wanna vex you and mask you, and they don't think we know that they drink Bud Light too. Cause these players don't hit, might as well have limp wrists. Cause of these cowards bowing down to feminists. I've been selling my stuff, hustling eBay, PlayStation car parts for little or no pay.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps and I see that you are 배불러 So fly.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, what was the biggest story in sports this weekend? The John Jones fight or the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight?
I would share that. I think they share the honors for different reasons. One on Friday night was an absolute spectacle. First of all, the Netflix.
Spectacle. We were trying to look for a word. Spectacle's a good word.
It took Steve Kim.
Right.
Yeah, it took a good word. Spectacle.
Right. And the Netflix stream was an absolute sham. I mean, the biggest winner this weekend, or at least on Friday night, was meth and crack streams. and Antonio Brown's Twitter account. They got a lot of traffic during the fight because, quite frankly, the execution of that broadcast was very poor. But my favorite story personally, and you can argue which one is bigger, is John Jones. I was at Football Palooza. Coach JB and the other guys wanted to watch the UFC card. I'm kind of non-committal on it. I'm apathetic towards the UFC. And as I'm watching it, I thought it was interesting, and I was pleasantly surprised that John Jones not only acknowledged the presence of Donald Trump, but when he did the Trump shuffle, I mean, it brought a tear to these slanted eyes. And again, just being a great American. And it was affirmation that not only can we support Trump, we can openly support Trump, we can be unapologetically patriotic, and that those who supported Trump, and this is important, Jason, remember the last 4 years I've heard this a lot, we are on the right side of history. Damn, it feels good. God bless America. God bless. God bless John Jones.
It really does. And look, Dana White has never backed down, never played ball with corporate media, never became politically correct. And he now, UFC, is the sport of this presidency and of this political movement. And I look at the National Football League and how much masculine ground they've ceded to UFC, and if what the NFL would look like if they had leadership like Dana White. Steve, I want to play for you, and you probably saw it earlier, but I want to play for you Dana White talking about how no one trusts the traditional media. I believe it's SOT number 7. Let's play that again.
Like all the podcasters, so it seems like a lot of young men like relate well to Trump. So it's like just like how the fighters kind of related to him tonight.
So I've had this philosophy for the last 5 years that traditional media is dead, and it doesn't hold the influence that it used to hold. The two most hated people in this world right now are the media and the politicians. Nobody trusts them, and nobody believes them. And the true influence right now is with these kids that are on the internet, and they're called influencers. So I've been creating relationships with these people over the last, like I said, 4 or 5 years. And this election was won on the internet.
Your thought, I mean, Dana White, you talk about being ahead of the curve and sticking to his guns and being rewarded for it. It's Dana White. And why couldn't the NFL have done the same thing?
Because they're gutless and he's not. And I've actually seen it, and I think me and you have talked about it, that when certain members of the media try to shame or guilt him for his support of certain causes or free speech, he doesn't cower. He fights back. He's a pugnacious, ballsy guy. But, Jason, Dana White makes a great point, and I hearken back to the first election of Barack Hussein Obama. One of the reasons why they felt he was able to upset the apple cart and win that election is that particular campaign understood the rise of social media and getting out on Facebook. Now, this is about a year or two before Twitter really became a thing, but they understood that the digital campaigns were going to be effective. Fast forward to this particular election season, it was Barron Trump, of all people, a much younger man than you or I, young man, who said, hey, Pops, you shouldn't go to MSNBC or CNN and bend the knee. No, there are actually other people that are much more influential, and here's the thing, much more trusted and honorable than the legacy media. See, this is why they're panicking, Jason. It's not just about the loss of a Democratic candidate or Kamala Harris. This is about an institution being defeated who always thought we are impenetrable, we are unbeatable, but the proletariat now has spoke out. The barbarians are at the gate, and the fact that independent media absolutely had an impact to a point that Jen Psaki, the misinformation merchant, is now saying that there should be censorship, that they need to curb social media. I find it fascinating what is going on, and the fact that Joe and Minka, those two fine, upstanding citizens, are now going to Mar-a-Lago to have a conversation. It's amazing. Just a month ago, they were literally saying or implying that that man was Adolf Hitler.
So I think Trump tore down the legacy media. And for that, I think he deserves the ultimate credit. He knew who his enemy was. He knew who the enemy of the American people was. He knew who the enemy of truth is, and it's corporate media. And so his whole fake news deal, it will live on in American history. And I don't know when it started. Did it start in 2015? Did it start in 2010, 11, 12? I don't know. But he tore it down so that something else could be built in its stead. And that's what we have now with all the independent media. And this was even long before this election cycle. Trump was already leaning into the Glenn Becks, the Steve Bannons, the non-traditional. Yeah, he was friendly with Fox News, I think, during his first rise as president to some degree. But he tore down the legacy media, and they've always hated him for that. It's and I don't want anyone to think that I'm comparing myself to Donald Trump, but that has been my problem with corporate media throughout my entire career. When Stephen A. Smith says, oh, everybody in the media hates Jason Whitlock, he's not wrong. But the reason they hate me is because I've been calling out their BS my entire career. I've never liked the corporate media. In 1994, when I became a columnist in Kansas City and became popular, I used to give a speech. I'd go on these speaking engagements, and I would talk about how, I grew up reading the Indianapolis Star, but hating its coverage of the Indiana Pacers. Yeah. And I got into the media to prove that, hey, I'm going to write for the readers and not for the athletes and not for the executives. I've just always had a disdain and a distrust of corporate media, and that's why I was immediately attracted to Donald Trump and his tearing down. I think that's been Trump's biggest accomplishment, taking the scales off people's eyes about just how corrupt the media is. It's not just politicians. Their co-conspirators are the media.
The biggest downfall of the corporate mainstream legacy media is the corporate mainstream media. And this is the value. See, I used to think growing up, and I was very naive, that they were the watchdogs, right? Now the watchdogs have a watchdog in terms of the independent media, much of which is on social media and YouTube. I mentioned him on my last appearance, Mark Dice, who I watch daily. Very, very well-researched individual. And I don't know how much of a library or a file he has, but you will literally see news clips of certain media members taking a stance where they're on this side of the aisle. They'll say that, oh, Trump's a great guy. We're his friends. And God, he's such a renegade. We like him. And then this meme has gone very popular. A few moments later, that thing, I wish I had stock in that. 3 years later, he's the worst human being ever. We never liked him. And I'm just telling you, time and time again, guys like him are pointing out how they flip-flop. Think about, there was a time when Joe Scarborough was actually having RFK. I saw this over the weekend in an interview where he was talking about, I don't like vaccines. Joe Scarborough said, yeah, really, what's going on? Well, what happened? Why did you change your stance all of a sudden? I don't think it's just an honest change of mind. You're allowed to have that. But the media has now been put under the microscope where their previous statements and stances are now being examined in retrospect. And they come off as incredibly dishonest.
Steve, I want to talk Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Before I do that, I want to take care of a tiny bit of business. I want to talk to you guys about a great opportunity in this reawakening, this rebirth, this time of great optimism. Perfect time to consider refinancing. American Financing has got a great opportunity for you. Today's economic environment is still really stressful for a lot of us, but with the Fed finally dropping interest rates, There is no better time than now to put you and your family in a better financial position. If you're a homeowner, American Financing is helping thousands of families just like you who have been putting everyday expenses on credit cards get out from underneath that debt by tapping into your home's equity. American Financing is saving their borrowers over $800 a month on average. $800 a month is like a $10,000 raise at work, and it costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. They are closing some in as little as 10 days. And if you start today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. There is no better time than right now to turn your situation around. Call today, 888-976-5555. 976-5555. That's 888-976-5555. AmericanFinancing.net/Whitlock.
NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
All right, Steve, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. You use the word spectacle. I use the word circus. I don't know what the fight was terrible. Jake Paul carried him. Mike Tyson, when he came out to do the ring walk, and I saw the knee brace on his right leg, I believe, and I felt like, hey, there's a slight little limp to Tyson as he's walking out to the ring. And then I'm telling you, in my view, 30 to 45 seconds in, Tyson ran out of gas. He was exhausted, and the fight ended 30 to 45 seconds in, but it actually went on for 7 more rounds, 2 minutes a shot. And it kind of put an exclamation point, how boring the fight was. It kind of put an exclamation point. This was a really bad look, I thought, for Netflix. Netflix looked worse than Mike Tyson in the ring, and that's saying something. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, as someone that covers boxing, I get it. I know why they did this, and I know why Mike Tyson did this. It's the money, stupid. It'll always be the money. It's a money game. It's a money business. And there's a lesson for all young fighters out there. If you don't want to be a guy that has to do things like this, save your money, guys. Because, look, my understanding is Mike got about $20 million. I'm not the one that's going to go and feed into his GoFundMe campaign. I get it. He might need the money. He wants the money. Everybody likes a buck. But was it sad to see? It was, Jason, as a child of the 80s and 90s who grew up during the Tyson phenomenon, which I believe started at the start of 1985 when he was this young phenom out of Catskill, this Cinderella story that the media picked up with Customato, and then growing up on national TV, made his debut against Marvis Frazier on ABC, blew him out in 30 seconds, Joe Frazier's son. And then right around that time, he also made the cover of Sports Illustrated at age 18 or 19. I'll never forget it, getting in the mailbox. It said Kid Dynamite, and he was going to be the heir apparent, not to Larry Holmes, but really Muhammad Ali in terms of bringing the star value to the heavyweight division when boxing still mattered. And you had to be in that era, Jason, to really understand how big he was. I mean, think about it. His tumultuous marriage to Miss Robin Givens was such a big story. I'm sure you remember this. Barbara Walters made it a lead story on 2020. I'll never forget. And Mike was kind of sedated, just kind of bored as hell. And Robin actually says, well, Mike beats me. And I'm like, what? He assaults me. I'm like, oh, my God. Robin, you better move. You better get to another bedroom or another home. That's how big he was. And he had national endorsement deals for Diet Pepsi, Kodak, had his own video game. And Jason, I want to see if this is true with you. Me and Mario Lopez on the 3 knockdown rule have talked about this a lot. The Mike Tyson upset loss to Buster Douglas is the JFK assassination of boxing matches and sporting events. In a sense, you knew where you were when you either saw it or heard about it. Is that true for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was still matriculating at Ball State University. What year was that?
1990, February 10th.
Yes, that was my senior year at Ball State, and I remember watching it with a group of us, and I mean, we lost our minds. I mean, Mike Tyson got knocked out, and I'm pretty sure we were at Frank Barnes and these guys. They lived at a house on New York Street at Ball State, and we had a big fight party. And, I mean, Mike Tyson lost. It was incredible.
I mean, this was a fight billed as Mike Tyson against Jake Paul. I'm not sure. I mean, we're talking now about Tyson fighting in real fights.
Well, he's going a little nostalgic.
I know, but this is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers playing golf with Tiger Woods and Phil. This is Bronny James playing opening night in the NBA. This is in that lane. It's on Netflix. This is one of the biggest gambling events in gambling history, though.
It was one of the most obvious bets to make because you could only make money with Jake Paul winning and continue. But, Steve, Tyson put out a tweet saying that he nearly died and had a blood transfusion. But you buying any of that? Is that excuse making? Or, because Mike physically looked good. I was like, how can this dude's body look basically the same at 57 as it did at 20? So the physical appearance looked great, but there was no fuel in the tank. Are you buying Mike's excuse?
Well, he may have had some pharmaceutical aid. I don't think there was a lot of drug testing for this event. And look, you ever seen that old classic car that looks great? It looks pristine. You know one thing you shouldn't do with it? Actually go out on the freeway. Just spin it around the block on a Sunday afternoon, show off for the ladies, and then you park the doggone thing. And my view is this. Butter, I don't completely agree with you on the point that you made. But I don't think Tiger Woods, even now, would lose a round. After 18 holes, I think he'd still have a better score than Peyton Manning or Tom Brady at any golf course, whether it's a municipal course or whether it's Augusta. Okay? And the issue is that did boxing debase itself? It's done it before, it'll do it again. My friend Larry Merchant, who I had lunch with on Friday, who was actually a little bit curious over this event, believe it or not, had a famous quote about boxing. Ain't nothing gonna kill it, ain't nothing gonna save it. And as I'm going out to lunch, we always meet at the Water Grill on near Santa Monica, Jason. And I found it interesting that AM 570 and ESPN 710, the drive time shows with DeMarco Farr, Fred Rogan, Rodney Peete, Steve Mason, all the guys that we listen to out here, they never talk about boxing. Trust me. But they spent the first half hour of both their shows, because I was flipping around, giving detailed analysis like this is modern day Frazier Ali. And so a lot of people will say, well, Steve, that's great. They're talking about boxing. See, I look at it a different way as a cynic. I actually think it's an indictment on boxing that the other 364 days of the year, Jason, they never talk about it. See, this is more about Tyson and Paul and their brands more than the sport of boxing, in my view.
It was more about a spectacle and a circus. It was go see the bearded lady, and everybody was hoping and like envisioning this 57-year-old man you put out. Again, this speaks to the power, the negative power really of social media, that he could put out a few little highlight clips on social media of him looking fast and moving. And who knows if they sped the camera up? Who knows what tricks and gimmicks they played to make Mike Tyson look like he was in great shape? And people was like, yeah, he's going to beat Jake Paul. Look at Mike Tyson still got it. And one of the things you get halfway through this fight, and particularly when Mike kept biting his glove and they ended up debating all of that, and you just start going, when is the last time, and Steve, you're the only person I think that can answer this question. When's the last time we've ever been impressed with Mike Tyson in the ring? What year was it? When was it? Who?
Okay, so you can make an argument that he peaked in 1989. So he became the youngest heavyweight champion in November of 1986 when he beat Trevor Berbick. That was my freshman year of high school. So yes, I do feel and look old. So he had an unbelievable run where he became this iconic figure. And Jason, in our era, in the late 80s, there are three great Mikes: Jackson, Jordan, and Tyson. And I'm not so sure it's in that order, to be honest with you. That the summer of 1989, he beat Carl the Truth Williams. There's a funny story. I'm at Grant Ray Park in Montebello. I'm playing a summer league baseball game, and Mike Tyson happened to be fighting that night. And the baseball coach knew I didn't really want to be there. I wanted to watch the fight. We're warming up, and he said, "Steve, I'll make sure you get updates on the fight." And I said, "Okay." 5 minutes later, he goes, "Steve, you can concentrate on baseball now. That fight just ended in one round." And that was his last victory before he faced James Buster Douglas in Tokyo, Japan. And it was such a lopsided fight going in. One of the reasons why that fight was in the land of the rising sun, Jason, the American casinos did not want to invest in 2-minute events. They were actually afraid that this was going to be another blowout. So 1989 was the last time I think he really had that aura. Then he served his prison sentence from 91 to about 95, and he was able to win the heavyweight titles against Frank Bruno and then Bruce Seldon in back-to-back fights in 1996, before he ran into a guy by the name of Evander Holyfield in November of that year. So it's literally been about 30 years since he really had even the partial aura of truly being the baddest man on the planet.
But not just that, it's he hasn't looked good in losses, in victories, in any. I don't know when's the last time I was impressed with Mike Tyson, and maybe it was Carl the Truth Williams.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, think about this. His real boxing career ended about 20 years ago when he lost back-to-back fights to Danny Williams and Kevin McBride. And look, not to disrespect those guys, because they get in there, they take punches, they're real fighters. Those were supposed to be fights that were going to lead to bigger fights. They kept setting things up, and he could not knock them down. These were layups that he flubbed like Angel Reese. That is the reality. Also, the persona of Mike Tyson is much different. He's reinvented himself. He's a friendlier guy. He's always smoked out. He has a podcast. He's actually part of the media. And people that now come across him will tell you that he's a gregarious figure. Like, look, don't poke the bear too much, but you can have fun with them. He's more personable than he was. There was a time in the late 90s when he was really an angry guy. You were afraid to get around him. I actually saw it firsthand. And now you fast forward to 2024, he's a different version of Michael Gerard Tyson.
I went to this fight. I was one of the last because Mike Tyson fights in Vegas, even though many of them were a sham post prison. I used to go to them and loved them. Last fight I went to of Tyson was in Memphis when Lennox Lewis took him apart.
The pyramid.
Again, it wasn't impressive. I know I was at one of the Evander Holyfield fights, and then I don't think I was at the ear-biting fight. I think I went to the first one. But to me, it all ended for me literally with Evander Holyfield. I thought Evander Holyfield punked him, and so if you just stand up to Mike Tyson, there's not much there. And so so that's 1996. How do we get to 2024? We haven't seen a good fight from Mike Tyson in nearly 30 years, and we're expecting he's going to do something here. It's an unreasonable expectation.
Let me ask you this, though. The same with Tiger Woods. If you compare Tiger Woods and Mike Tyson, over the last however many years, Tiger Woods has not been good.
He won a Masters.
I know, but when he
won a Masters.
Right, but when he won the Masters, we all relished in that and recognized that as a phenomenal all-time victory. Yeah. Had Mike Tyson won this fight last night, nobody would have thought Mike Tyson is back. That shows you that this fight meant nothing. This had nothing to do with fighting. When Tiger won the Masters a few years ago, we triumphed. Tiger was back, one last hurrah. It meant something. This didn't. That's why you know what it was.
Let me make this point, Jason. I think people forget the Evander Holyfield fight in 1996 was thought to be a mismatch. A mismatch to a point, that people were actually ripping Don King for making it, because prior to that particular bout, Evander Holyfield looked so bad against Bobby Ches that they actually took him in for like heart test. And why did he look so bad? And he was a 25-1 favorite. And I remember people thinking this is going to be a 2-round fight. But Evander Holyfield always had Mike Tyson psychologically, going back to an incident they had at the Olympic trials, I believe, in the early 80s, where he didn't back down from Mike Tyson at a pool table. There's a famous story where Mike Tyson was losing all these games. He wouldn't get off until some country bumpkin from Georgia said, "Mike, you lost, get off the table." And everyone else was afraid of Mike. And Evander Holyfield said, "Mike, give me the stick now. You lost." And that right there held for years. So I've always thought that if they fought 100 times, I think Evander probably wins 100 of them. But to your point, Butter, I would say nostalgia is a strong narcotic. We are caught up in the emotion of it. We are caught up in the tradition of what was. It brings us back to a greater day. And also, to be blunt, the reason why we still had interest as a general public, or maybe even as a hardcore boxing fan, is that the inability of boxing the past 20 years to create the next crossover star, and not even to a Tyson level. Who was the next Manny Pacquiao? Who's the next Floyd Mayweather? Who was the next Oscar De La Hoya? Boxing now, not only is it not mainstream, it's purely niche. A lot of these fights are now going to the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. Many of our biggest stars, by this standard, like Tank Davis, who's not even 30 years old, are fighting once a year. I don't believe it's sustainable. I have a theory that when Canelo Alvarez, the last remaining pay-per-view franchise in this business, walks away from the sport, there may be nobody there to actually fill his shoes. And that's a scary thought for the industry of boxing.
Well, now you've just moved to Jake Paul believes he's that guy, that he runs boxing, that he just put 50, 60 million people on Netflix. He just made Netflix stream go away. Maybe is Jake Paul the man in boxing?
On ability and actual talent, no. But I have always given Jake Paul credit for this. He has created a business for himself. Keep this in mind, Jason. This event was promoted by his own company, MVP. He didn't lean on Bob Arum, Don King, or Eddie Hearn, or Golden Boy Promotions. He said, you know what? I am a business. I am a brand. I've made myself into a social media star, and I will make myself into a boxing industry. I am an attraction. And to his credit, Jason, he actually fights more than most regular fighters. If you look at his record the last 3 years, his activity level is something I wish would be replicated. Now, look, his actual validity as a world-class prize fighter, I don't think there is none. He's fought Nate Robinson, a basketball player, fought a bunch of MMA guys whose striking is not their forte. He lost his one real fight, I'd call it, to Tommy Fury, who's probably the least talented of that Fury fighting family. And there's one thing that everyone has in common outside of Tommy Fury. These are old guys. All of them are in their late 30s, and in Mike Tyson's case, late 50s. He has adroitly match-made his career. It's been genius, actually.
There is a rumor that he's identified his next opponent. He's allegedly challenging former President Jimmy Carter. Is what?
Oh, wow. Wow. I think Jimmy, Jimmy can still vote. He can still vote. I mean, they have to move his hand for him. But yeah, all the memes came out. But on a serious note, there is a lesson to be learned by Jake Paul. That if you believe you're going to be a star that can make the significant 8-figure paydays, if you're only fighting once or twice a year in your mid-20s, like so many boxers of today, you're not going to make it. You're really not. I actually think that the rise of Jake Paul, the impact of this particular event is an indictment on the quote unquote real boxing. They opened the door for all of this to become a reality.
Would you watch, because I think, didn't he tweet out something maybe about Conor McGregor and wanting Conor McGregor to, but that's, the weight disparity seems too large, but people might buy that.
No, of course they buy it.
The Tate brothers, the Tates, what's that Tate?
Andrew.
Of course they
Andrew
buy
Tate.
it. Look, here's the difference between Jake Paul and just about every other boxer today, and you can even include a lot of the UFC guys. If you walk down mainstream USA, I think a lot more people would say, hey, there's that Jake Paul guy. Now, I could name you 15 of the best fighters in the world pound for pound. I don't think anyone would recognize them at all. That maybe Canelo, and then maybe certain cities, Gervonta Tank Davis. But outside of that, in America, because certain guys in their foreign countries are very popular. But the reality is, Jake Paul had people that never watch either boxing or sports on a regular basis tuning in Friday. And for that, I do have to give him credit.
I'll give him credit, but they tuned in to Steve, and again, I'm a little dumber than most people. They kept going to this female broadcaster, Rosie, because I didn't watch all the pre-hype stuff. I didn't know that. I just thought hey, this is some Rosie that must have been involved in boxing. Maybe she's a female boxer or whatever. But when I found she's not qualified to broadcast a fight. It was a disaster. It was terrible. She didn't say one thing clever, funny, insightful. She's
not qualified to call a Tyson fight who's 57 and an influencer who's fighting.
No. And that the broadcast was an embarrassment. And I thought the fight that everybody loved, the two women, just wait. I have no interest in watching women fight, and I certainly don't have an interest in them fighting that brutally as that was.
Mr. WNBA has a problem with women swapping punches. First of all, I want to give a salute to Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. That's one of the two best fights I saw of the weekend. And I want to stick up for old Rosie Perez a little bit. Rosie, I just really enjoyed your work and do the right thing. Ice cubes. Ice cubes. Yeah.
She was banging back in the day, man.
Did she belong on that broad? Did she add any value to that broadcast?
It's a Jake Paul fight fighting Mike Tyson. I believe so.
Steve?
By the way, she is a big boxing fan. She tweets a lot about it. So under those standards of what was taking place, I guess, it was a non-traditional broadcast. Yes. Jeez. No, she's not Don Dunphy or Howard Cosell, okay? Jeez.
Guys, before we move on to the NFL, are we done? Anything else you need to say? What do you think of Mike Tyson and them showing his bare cheeks? I didn't like that either.
What Donald Trump is doing in today's America with the media, this is exactly what's taking place with Jake Paul and boxing. There's a new wave of entertainment. There's a new way of communicating. I think it's all in the same vortex. It's an interesting part of history we're involved in right here.
Yeah, about that shot of Mike Tyson in the locker room, I think it symbolized what the Netflix stream was. Ass. That's it.
I agree. I completely agree. Hey, I want to, before we move on to some football, I want to talk with you guys for a second about a great new movie that's out. Bonhoeffer, as the world teeters on the brink of annihilation, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is swept into the epicenter of a deadly plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler in Angel Studios' latest blockbuster movie, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, hits theaters on November 22nd. Get showtimes right now at angel.com/Jason, angel.com/Jason. With his faith and fate at stake, Bonhoeffer must choose between upholding his moral convictions or risking it all to save millions of Jews from genocide. Will his shift from preaching peace to plotting murder alter the course of history or cost him everything? Guys, we've been looking for movies that support our values. Bonhoeffer is a great movie to go see this Thanksgiving season. Get your tickets today at angel.com/Jason. Steve, let's go to the National Football League. Lamar Jackson. He dropped the baton yesterday. He had the MVP baton. He's rounding the corner, headed for the home stretch. Pittsburgh Steelers, T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Boswell, the field goal kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, knocked that baton out of Lamar's hands. The Ravens, the Steelers have their number, clearly. They have Lamar Jackson's number. Another mediocre game against the Steelers. They lose 18-16, can only score 16 points. Their defense actually showed up, or Pittsburgh's offense didn't show up, but they still couldn't get it done. And so to me, the story of yesterday was Lamar drops the baton, Josh Allen picks up the baton, they knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen seals the game with a beautiful touchdown scramble, has another strong game. Steve, Josh Allen is the leader right now. He's not in the clubhouse, but he is the leader in the MVP race. Clear, end of story, nothing to debate here, as him the leader right now.
Agreed. And I've been a fan of the way Lamar Jackson has evolved as a quarterback this year, but yesterday he got throttled. And the other big story with the Baltimore Ravens, we are seeing the descent of an all-time great kicker in Justin Tucker. There used to be a time where he was Mr. Automatic. And again, I get it. Certain field goals are very long. He's missing relative chip shots, and he missed one, if not two, makeable kicks yesterday in a 2-point game. And I'm going to say this again ad nauseum. You're not going to stop me. They have a Maserati, a very big one, in Derrick Henry, and they keep it in the garage too long. There's a common thread to some of these games where the Ravens lose. They don't feed 22. I get it. He fumbled early. Guess what? It happens, even to the best of them. When you are in a defensive battle, what is a quarterback's best friend in situations like this? The run game. The run game. And Derrick Henry, with his size and speed and his tenacity, he gets better as the game goes on and you feed him, because defensively, you don't want to touch that guy after a while. I think once again, he was underused, and I got to start questioning Harbaugh. And I know a lot of fans have told me this. They are losing too many winnable close games. And I know that he has a Super Bowl and a lot of playoffs on his resume, but if the Ravens don't make a legitimately deep playoff run, Harbaugh starts to come under question. Now, as for the Buffalo Bills, Jason, if Amari Cooper can be the guy that we've seen for the past decade, if they don't make a Super Bowl this year with the way things are coming together and with Josh Allen having another great year, it will be a disappointment for those people in Buffalo.
So let's go back to Baltimore, and then we'll go skip back to Josh Allen. Derrick Henry ran the ball 13 times yesterday, averaged 5 yards a carry. That's a joke. In a game where Pittsburgh kicked 6 field goals, it's a 2-point game. Baltimore threw the ball 33 times and ran it just 19 times. They're so invested in proving Lamar's evolved as a passer that they lose their identity, and again, you're blaming John Harbaugh. I think Lamar's invested in proving his critics wrong sometimes, and that costs them strategy-wise. And you're right, they should have been running. Hey, look, Lamar should have ran the ball more. He only ran it 4 times. And so this is a Steeler team that did play well defensively, but I thought Russell Wilson was pretty average. Threw an interception late that could have cost them the game, but Russell Wilson continues to win, and the Steelers continue to win. They're now 8-2. Hats off to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, but you're 1,000% right about Baltimore's identity. Now they fall to 7-4. They're 7-4, 2 games behind Steelers in the loss column. Not good, not good at all. And then now to Buffalo and Josh Allen. Here's the Chiefs have been flirting with loss for the last 2-3 weeks. Had to block a kick last week to win a game. This loss to Buffalo, very, very predictable in my opinion. But Patrick Mahomes continues to throw some interceptions that are costly. There was a long pass where the young receiver, I don't know if it was Worthy or if it was someone else, didn't get their feet in bounds, and they really should have. But it was about the only time they really threw deep. The Kansas City offense, I don't think is going to get fixed this season. I don't think Pacheco coming back is going to fix it. Their offense is a problem. And I think there's another hidden team out there that no one's really talking about, but it's the Los Angeles Chargers, right there in the AFC West. They finally put up the kind of offensive numbers you would expect with Justin Herbert. They scored 37 last night, beat the Bengals. I'm not sure what their exact record is. Are they 8-2 or 7-3? 7-3. I really, really, really like. I really didn't like. I'm just lost my track. I did like the way Justin Herbert and these guys are starting to play. I think they're very dangerous. It's an interesting situation for the Kansas City Chiefs, and there are more threats than just the Buffalo Bills for the Chiefs. Your thoughts on my thoughts on the Chargers and what we're seeing from them, and the likelihood of the Chiefs three-peating.
You know, there's this young enterprising guy on this show who said Jim Harbaugh's an elite coach. But then there was someone who said, no, he's not that good at all. And I was like, really? Oh, yeah, that was me. Can Jim Harbaugh coach or what? We're already seeing the Harbaugh effect. Now, look, they almost flubbed that game away. But when Justin Herbert uses his legs judiciously, and if they could just get him one more wideout, that's the only thing I just kind of look at. Say they don't have a true number one, but they found something in Ladd McConkey, who looks like he's going to have a good long career. And then Quentin Johnston's finally making some plays as a first-round draft choice. But this is what I've always known about Harbaugh teams. They're fundamentally sound, and they're physical, and they're going to be tough. That is already in play. And to be 7-3 in his first year with a lot of momentum says a lot about Harbaugh's coaching acumen. Now, Jason, to the Chiefs, I know that the box scores don't tell you everything, but they tell you something. And this much is true every week, it seems. You always see Patrick Mahomes with about 35 to 40 passing attempts and nowhere near 300 passing yards. That is incredibly inefficient. And truth be told, if you want to be very blunt about this, if someone said to me, Steve, who's the best player on the Chiefs? I'd say Chris Jones. Doesn't make him the most important because he's not a quarterback. But to be honest, on a game-to-game basis, the guy that plays his position at the highest level, it would be 95. It would not be 15. Kansas City is now a defensive team that has to play very well situationally and eke out a lot of close games. Jason, even when they were 9-0, they did not have the feel of a dominant team. I actually would not be surprised if they lose 3 or 4 more games down the stretch.
Do you see Jared Goff perhaps as number 2 in the MVP race? They just put 52 points on the Jacksonville Jaguars. It looks like, despite 5 interceptions the week before, Jared Goff may be the second best MVP candidate. I don't. Who would be number 2 if not Jared Goff?
Well, Saquon Barkley. But again, I don't know if there's a running back bias that prohibits him from really being considered. Here's one thing about Goff that they do very smart, very intelligently in Detroit. They understand that he's much better off with a running game. Look, I get it. Jared Goff is very good at what he does. But in my view, where this season really shifted after that early season loss to the Buccaneers, where Goff threw over 45, 50 times, and I don't think played well that game at home, they understood they have the most dynamic 1-2 punch at running back in the league with Montgomery and Gibbs. They are the centerpiece, and as long as they can go under center, and then this is where Jared Goff thrives as much as any quarterback. His true ability to play under center and create play action and to be an absolute surgeon gives them a huge advantage. Yes, Goff should be in the discussion, but by that token, so should Montgomery and Gibbs then.
I love your Saquon Barkley point, and I saw somewhere they said if not for the tush push, Saquon would have more touchdowns and he would look even more impressive. The Eagles certainly look strong, and I believe Saquon is their best player and should be in consideration. And who knows, by the end of the season, he might be in the conversation. But right now, it's Josh Allen's to lose. I got Jared Goff number 2, and I probably got Saquon Barkley with a bullet at number 3. It's been an interesting NFL season. Steve, I'm going to let you go because I got to prepare myself for my daily dose of Deion Sanders, who continues, in some people's mind, to put a clown suit on me, but not in my mind. I'll get into it next. Take Dan Campbell in Detroit. He's not the general manager. He's the head coach. Take DeMeco Ryan in Houston. He's not the general manager. He's the head coach. Dion goes to Dallas. He's going to go Bill Parcells. He wants to buy the groceries too. He doesn't just want to cook the groceries. He's going to want to buy the groceries. Dion's ego, far more enormous than Dan Campbell or DeMeco Ryans. And he's got an owner who is desperate, who has been playing the role of general manager. And so Dion's going to want more control. He'll have leverage with the media in a back and forth if he and Jerry ever disagree. I think it could be a tiny bit high risk for Jerry Jones to make this move. He'll have to either surrender. I think he'd have to basically surrender all power to Deion Sanders, because Deion's going to want to buy the groceries the same way he's bought the groceries at Colorado.
Yeah, look, the head coach at a college program is the CEO. They are, in effect, their own general manager. And you're right, guys like Dan Campbell have Brad Holmes, who's just incredible at his job. But Dion just may say to Jerry, look, get me one guy. That's my son. And then I'm going to let you do your job and surround him with dogs, as he likes to say.
His words are abolition, no regrets in our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
All right, welcome back. Time for my daily dose of Deion Sanders. I'm being inundated over the weekend with people suggesting I owe Deion Sanders an apology. The Buffaloes are now 8-2. They destroyed Utah 49-24, I believe, 49-25, something like that. They destroyed Utah. And I made the bet that if they finish, I predicted that they would lose 2 of their next 3 games. Now that means that, or I would go to their bowl game dressed out in Dion gear and Colorado gear. Now they have to lose this week to Kansas, which I was counting on. I was counting on them losing to Utah and Kansas. But now they got to lose to Kansas and Oklahoma State at the end of the year. And Oklahoma State's been awful. Kansas hasn't been any good either, but they do have a quarterback who could cause them problems. Anyway, people are arguing that I owe Dion an apology, that I was wrong. And I am going to be transparent and say, I'm wrong, but I'm not apologizing. I don't owe Dion an apology. I'm wrong about what their record would be this year. I'm wrong about how much improvement they would show this year. And not just before the season, but after they lost to Nebraska, after they should have lost to Baylor, I was real confident that the wheels were going to fall off. And the wheels did not fall off. This team has improved throughout the course of the season, which I didn't expect a Deion Sanders coach team to improve over the course of the season. I was wrong about that. I thought it would look a lot like last year, where Deion's team did not get better over the course of the season. They actually got worse. Things got tougher. They began to crack last year. That is not the case this year. Hats off to Dion. Hats off to Colorado for that. They have more character as it relates to football competition and just grinding it out and the work of getting better than I gave them credit for. The main argument that I've had about Dion and Colorado is I don't respect the way Dion has gone about it. None of that has changed. I don't respect the way Dion has gone about it. It violates my values. And if Dion, and it's not just about my values, to me, the way he's gone about it, embracing the rappers the way that he has, his lack of humility, he has none. His leaning into this nickname and the gold chains and the radical materialism, none of that. None of it's consistent with my values. None of it's consistent with Christian values. Yes, Dion, pretty consistently, when a camera's in his face, God bless y'all, I just want to thank God, blah, blah, blah. He'll throw that in. But his actions don't back it up. His actions are a lot like they were after they beat Utah on Saturday. Dion immediately goes into, if Travis Hunter doesn't win the doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, it's because everybody hates me. I want to play that clip. This is what I don't like nor respect about Deion Sanders. Let's play SOT number 11.
Off your report, Travis had a tremendous day. He had an interception, a touchdown, and then one of the crazier catches you'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
What would your message be to Heisman voters who are undecided in his case?
I ain't been getting no message on Heisman voters is undecided. If they can't see, they can't see. It is what it is. I mean, Travis is who he is. He's supposed to go to the best college football player. I think that's been a wrap since, week 2? So we ain't petitioning for nobody. We ain't doing that. We got a wonderful display of cameras here, and I think we're on national television every week. If they can't see it, there's a problem. Don't allow their hatred for me to interfere with our kids' success. They got to stop that. Y'all got to stop some of y'all like that. Y'all got to stop that, man. Give the kids what they deserve, man. I done had my turn. You had, I played 14 years. You had 14 years to hate me. Now let it go.
This is what I don't like about Deion Sanders. He's now told, put it in the air. Like, oh, if Travis doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, it's because of your hatred of me. Deion, give it a break. Deion has had 5, 6, 7 people criticize his approach at Colorado. 5 or 6, maybe 7 people. Here's who I can name off the top of my head who were pretty passionate critics of Deion Sanders. Me, Paul Feinbaum, Coach JB, Mike Farrell, some guy, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I can't even remember the guy's name. He's been on the show. He wrote that piece about the gun culture, gang culture in Colorado. But Sean Keeler, that's not who I'm thinking of, but Sean Keeler, the guy in Denver. That's it. Everybody else has pretty much, not everybody else, but most people have dropped to their knees and genuflected in front of Dion. Don't let your hatred of me, hatred of you. You went 4-8 last year, and Sports Illustrated named you Sportsman of the Year. You were in last place in the Pac-12 last year, and Sports Illustrated called you Sportsman of the Year. 60 Minutes did 2 features on you in a year's span, in a 12-month span. 60 Minutes did 2 celebratory features on you. There's no hatred of Deion Sanders. There are a handful of people who have a problem with your egomaniacal act. There's a handful of people that think you pretend to be a Christian while displaying none of the fruit, while everything is about you. Here's the truth about Travis Hunter, and this is, again, my concern about the entire Dion experience. Travis Hunter, to me, great player, seemed like a really great kid, but dipped into your culture. His ego has gotten out of hand. Instead of leaning into humility, Travis Hunter has started to mimic Deion's attitude and Deion's lack of humility. Anybody with a brain that watched that game on Saturday against Utah, Travis Hunter probably had his weakest game of his entire college career. Anybody that watched it, dude got beat deep for a touchdown. According, and look, Pro Football Focus is not the end-all be-all, but their ratings of Travis on Saturday were some of the lowest he's had all season on both sides of the football. Anybody watching that game on Saturday left with, and you're about to be rolled over here when I say this, and like, how can he say this? But if you're looking at, again, look at I'm him. Do you understand? On the side of his head, on his sweat, that's Dion. Because again, this I'm him. No, Jesus Christ is him. And Dion would understand the blasphemy of that saying if he were being authentic about his faith. But I just want to go back to this past Saturday. This man plays poorly. Travis did. And his Heisman ratings go up. People are, oh, Travis Hunter played great. And Dion comes in after the game. Anybody that doesn't see that Travis Hunter's the Heisman Trophy deal is an idiot and they just hate me. If you watch Saturday's game with an objective point of view, the most important player, he may not be the best, but the most important player on that Colorado team is named Shedeur Sanders. Without Shedeur Sanders, that's instead of 8-2, that's probably 8-2, is that 10 games? Are they 8-2 right? Yeah, that's 10 games. They're probably a 6-4, 7-3 football team. More likely 6-4, maybe even 5-5. The quarterback is the reason they have a chance to make the playoffs. And it's because, I know that shocks some of you and you think I'm not blind, I'm not stupid. The quarterback is a very, very good college player. Jury's still out on whether it's going to convert to the NFL. That's not me taking a shot. That's just me being real about his holding on to the football and whether if he keeps that habit, it's going to destroy him at the NFL level. He gets away with it at the collegiate level. The guy's got an excellent arm. It's not elite. And so all the little things are going to matter at the next level at the NFL. Who knows what's going to happen at the next level? But on the collegiate level, Shedeur is really good, and he's the difference. That team has so many wide receivers. They don't need Travis Hunter playing offense. Travis Hunter playing offense is a gimmick to win him the Heisman Trophy. I'm not sure he's their best wide receiver, like everyone keeps arguing. That LeJontay Wester, the Will Shepard, these guys can play at a high, high level. Travis Hunter could sit down on offense and they would not miss a beat. That was proven this past Saturday. He wasn't any good on offense this past Saturday. He got a garbage touchdown late. His interception was off a deflected ball. Someone else actually made the play. And he just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But Dion comes on after the game and basically says, if y'all don't give him the Heisman, it's because y'all hate me. Hate you? You've been pandered to your entire life. Pandered to because of your athletic gifts. You got to do any and everything at Florida State. You didn't have to go to class. You barely had to practice. You've been pandered to because of your great talent. And you should be, every other word out of your mouth should be, man, God blessed me with incredible talent and made things easy for me. I feel sorry for those of you that can't run a 4.140, a 4.240. I can imagine how much more difficult athletics are for you. I can't imagine the people that aren't 6'1" and play football or basketball or any of these sports that actually value height. Man, I was born with some gifts that were outside of my control. At 57, and someone who's been claiming Jesus Christ for as long as Deion Sanders, that should be his mentality. He should have enough self-awareness to know, just like me and everybody in the sound that can hear my voice, anything good that I accomplish or any of us accomplish, it ain't us. And I know many of us love taking credit for things God did and does, but it ain't us. People think I'm joking and being self-deprecating when I say I'm stupid. I'm not. I'm not joking. I'm not being self-deprecating. I'm not that smart. I've been blessed with things beyond my control, a level of discernment, the ability to write. There are people, I'm not going to name her name, but trust me, there's people I went to college with. It's like, Whitlock's a writer? Are you kidding me? I wrote his papers. It's not me. Now, and trust me, I'm saying as an adult, I've done all the writing. It is me doing the writing. But it's some gift from above that allowed this. Yes, I put in some hard work and actually learned how, but trust me, it's not me. God wanted me to write so he could use me, and I got some blessing that I can't really even understand. But I'm an idiot. I got plenty of receipts to prove it. And trust me, so is Dion. And so are the rest of you. And I know many of us like to delight and think about how smart we are, and we did this, and you ain't done none of it. And that's what bothers me about Deion Sanders. He thinks he's him. He's always trying to identify who else is him. Ain't none of it him. It's him. And for this idiot not to be leaning into that, it bothers me. And that's why I don't respect the way it's been done. And so if y'all think the devil doesn't have rewards for the people that promote the debauchery, the stupidity, the radical materialism, the lack of humility, and he's getting those rewards, and hats off to him. Their team's improved. Just so I say everything that I truly believe. Dion, the things I do respect. There's some coaches. It's not just Warren Sapp, who I'm friends with and absolutely love the fact that Warren Sapp has this career now in coaching. But there's some other coaches Dion has given an opportunity that's been great, and that wouldn't have gotten the opportunity, not on this level, gotten this stage, and will get the kind of credit and opportunities they'll get moving forward because of Dion. I respect that. There's no way I'm going to denigrate that. And some of the kids, the number 7 that he brought with him from Jackson State or whatever, great. And I do respect that. But much of it I don't respect. And I don't respect it because college football has so dramatically changed. And so the things that it used to take to be successful, a coach that could go into a room and authentically connect with kids and authentically connect with their parents and promise to shepherd those kids in a certain direction. None of that matters anymore. It's just cutting a check. And I guarantee you, if they went and examined how much money is Colorado spending, name, image, and likeness, and outfitting that team, securing that roster for the team, I guarantee you it's at the very top or near the very top of the entire Big 12. Oklahoma and Texas aren't in the Big 12. Missouri left the Big 12. When you go check who can generate the most money and spend the most money on a roster, I guarantee you Colorado is either 1, 2, or 3 in the Big 12. Someone prove me wrong on that. Someone do the research and tell me that BYU is spending more money or Kansas State is spending more money. I don't believe it. Deion's used his hype and all this groupie and all the DEI and all the, hey, we got to make sure this black coach who preaches racial idolatry, we got to make sure he's successful. And a lot of people have poured money into it. And Colorado has one of the highest paid rosters, in my view. It's an opinion. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Has one of the highest paid rosters in the Big 12. And because of Deion's son, they clearly have the best quarterback in the Big 12 in a league that used to produce elite quarterbacks. Not anymore. Because the Big 12 is not paying that kind of money to get the best quarterbacks anymore. And now it's about money. It's not about opportunity. It's about money. And so I just, hats off to them. But me apologizing, no dice. Me being proven wrong, 8-2, maybe they'll go 10-2, maybe they'll go 9-2. I don't know. I'm willing to admit I was wrong about that, and there are certain aspects that Dion and his coaching staff accomplished that I didn't see. I was wrong. I don't mind being wrong because I'm an idiot. I'll be wrong again tomorrow about something else. Apologizing? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm going to spend a 3-hour Saturday afternoon rooting for Kansas. If they lose to Kansas, I'll spend the next weeks looking for Colorado gear to wear. I'll live up to my promise. I'll go to the game. I'll sport the Colorado Buffalo stuff and root and cheer on Warren Sapp, Deion Sanders, Damian Lewis, and whoever else is on there. The Robert Livingston, the defensive coordinator, and you know, I tell you, I like, as players, I like number 7. I really like the Wester kid. All the defensive linemen at number 97. Anyway, that's your daily dose of Dion. I was wrong. I'll admit that I was wrong. Will not apologize. Got nothing to apologize for. Shamika Michelle and the chat. Next. I hate to be this blunt, but I have to be because the truth sets us free. A lot of these people, their only qualification is their skin color that they have nothing to do with, and skin color doesn't offer a value. Perhaps she's scissored with half the WNBA. Maybe that's her qualification. Or perhaps a lot of these guys have been over for Diddy or someone else in a high executive position. That's their qualification. And then they come in and because I've scissored, because I'm black, because I'm a gay woman, because I'm a gay man, I have these special powers and special insight and special discernment to lead this entire company. It's a joke. It has to come to an end. It's damaging to the meritocracy. It's damaging to the entire country. It's why I'm so excited about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and the government efficiency deal, because I think it's about setting a tone for all of America. Cut the fat. Bring back merit and qualifications. quit handing out token positions, creating a bureaucracy and layers in the corporation that just bring everything to a halt, and things aren't actually focused on actual production, who brings real value to the company. All right, welcome back. Shamika Michelle, what's cracking today? Is there anything you want to get off your chest before we get to the comments? Was there something I was supposed to ask you before we get to the comment? I go into my daily dose of Dion and I kind of lose my mind. But
no,
anyway.
just thinking about your conversation about Trump uniting the country. I just want to say, Jason, that it seems like there's been this unanimous, resounding, oh shit, with people on the left that feel like this is his last term. He can just go all out, and they are afraid. So many people are backtracking, and I think that's one of the reasons. But for the rest of us, we are just getting along regardless of race, regardless of background, and we are having a good time. I can see people just having fun all across the country because it just feels like this weight has been lifted. And there are people in the chat saying, don't replace God with Trump. That's not what we're doing. But if you've been living in this country and paying attention for the last 4 years, this is like a breath of fresh air, and we're just enjoying it.
So, and Shamika, you can wiggle out of this if I'm going into an area I shouldn't, but you are experiencing things with your family as it relates to Trump, that it's not just the people in the news media that seem to be changing up, but it's everybody. And again, this is where I'm furious with people like Joe and Mika and Joy Reid and all the people on the left that tried to convince everybody that Trump was Adolf Hitler and that Trump was going to reinstall slavery and he's racist and he's this and he's that. And I look at the damage it's done to friendships and families, and it's like, no, these people, they're not going to get away with just backpedaling. I need some acknowledgement that you cause real harm for everyday average Americans. Anyway, your thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, Jason, I would say in 2020, my family was, they were very upset with me. Not many of them spoke out, but you could just tell when you don't get invited to the cookout or when people turn up their nose at you. I had some to even go as far as to fuss me out. But after this election, I was very surprised because yesterday we were at my uncle's 96th birthday party, and we have to wear, or they've asked us to wear like fun Thanksgiving t-shirts and coming up for Thanksgiving. And my uncle was actually picking out t-shirts for me to wear. He kept coming up with all these Trump t-shirts, they're eating the turkeys or make Thanksgiving great again. And every time I turned around, he was on Amazon coming to me with a different shirt idea because he knew I hadn't ordered mine. And it's just a big change from 2020, even when we lost. It's just a big change. Everything has changed, and I'm enjoying it. And now I don't have to go to Thanksgiving feeling like I'm gonna make people upset. They've picked out my shirt for me.
Yeah, I need some of those good vibrations, or maybe I'm just not open to them. It's rough for me right now, I gotta say, and I don't know if it's my own doing or
rough in your family, you mean, or what's rough?
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Well, go have Thanksgiving at Shamika's.
I may have to.
Right?
It's just, but again, it may be me. Maybe I'm the problem and just can't let it go because it's just like I look at Joe and Mika, and until I hear some real, hey, I screwed y'all over. I talk people in your family into taking 5 and 6 boosters. I talk them into wearing a mask here and there. Again, this stuff has real, because that's what they've done. They've made people ignore common sense, buy into obvious lies, reject just biblical common sense and support things that it's like, well, hold on. This party is pro-gay marriage, pro-abortion, pro-cutting off penises and breasts of little kids, pro-drag queen story hours, but you good with them because Trump says mean things. And I just, as salty as some may be with me for liking Trump, that's how salty I am for them co-signing this foolishness. And I need some prayer. I really do. I've been praying, but I need some additional prayer. And I say this in all seriousness. I need some additional prayer because I'm just not finding it easy to let it go. And I look at Joe and Mika, and I ain't letting nothing go till I do want them thrown up underneath the jail. As many people took this vaccine and as many people threw away all their values, I want some repercussions. I'm sorry, and God, please get, because I look for grace and mercy all the time, and I need to give it to others, but it's rough for me right now.
Yeah,
chat,
I definitely.
Well, I made it too serious. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Then get to the chat.
I was going to say the first couple of days after the election, like I even had to be pretty strong with my grandma who was just so in her feelings. And I had to remind her, you cannot choose an Indian woman you don't know over your grandchild. So I had to be very strong with her. But I would say over the last, week or two, people have really just been very soft and it's been so surprising. But I think that's what it is. People know we're not going to take that. And I saw a poll that came out, Jason, that said freedom of speech was like the second biggest reason people voted in this election. The economy and inflation was number one, but then freedom of speech was number two. I think people did not like all of the canceling. I mean, for goodness sake, we took Aunt Jemima off the syrup bottle. Can we get her back now that Trump is coming back to office?
Well, look, it's very. I need prayer. I'll just say that. Chat, what's cracking in the chat?
Okay, Tim Morgan said, Jason, if you had an issue with Obama distancing himself from Minister Wright, why didn't you circle the wagons when the left came for Mark Robinson?
If I had a problem with Obama distancing himself from Jeremiah Wright, how come I didn't circle the wagons for Mark Robinson? Is that the question?
Yes.
I don't see the connection. I did reach out to Mark Robinson, I believe, and ask him to come on the show. He declined to do that. And again, not in any kind of aggressive way or whatever. But it didn't seem like he circled the wagons. So why would I circle the wagons? That would be my answer. And, I don't know what happened there. I haven't, anybody that watches this show probably knows I would probably be more familiar with nude Sweden than nude Africa. And so maybe I couldn't get to the bottom of nude Africa. I don't know. Anyway, next.
Philip says, it's funny how Jason can label a movement Trump derangement syndrome, but will name another type of movement racial idolatry. Is it really Trump derangement or actually Trump idolatry, Jason? And he made reference to how you mentioned that people worship Dion, but now he feels like you're doing the same thing with Trump.
I don't worship Trump. I just don't. And I'm trying to be crystal clear. My issue, or how I view the Trump deal, is the man, the sins that he's been accused of, there's not one of them that I don't believe I couldn't be accused of. And not with getting my friends and people in trouble, I don't think he's been accused of any sins that my friends couldn't have been accused of. And so he's a flawed man. And I believe every man is flawed. And most heterosexual men, I'm not justifying it. I've clearly moved away from that behavior and understand the sinfulness of that behavior. But most men, the stuff they've accused Trump of, oh, he was around his friends, talking about, speaking about sex in an explicit way. If we're Xing out all them dudes, all of my friends, everybody I know is dead and X'd out. So that's it. And so my issue as it relates to Trump are policy related. Do I want illegal immigration stopped? Yes. Do I want manufacturing jobs back in America? Yes. I told you all that I liked Trump in 2015 and 16. I loved Trump after I heard his inauguration speech and talking about bringing manufacturing jobs back, because that's how I grew up. My mother, father, they were factory workers. All their friends were factory workers. The people that came to the Masterpiece Lounge where I grew up, they were all factory workers. I've seen our manufacturing jobs leave this country, leave neighborhoods that I grew up in, and I've seen the devastation. I've seen the emasculation of American men, especially black men, with the elimination of these manufacturing jobs. I've seen what it's done, and I want them back. I don't want a party, and I want, 2015, 16, when the guy said, hey, I'm gonna name 3 Supreme Court justices and we're gonna end Roe v. Wade, that sounded real good to me. Real, real good. And he did that. And so the other party has an abortion truck outside of their convention. Their whole platform is based on killing babies. I don't like it, so I'm forced to lean into the other party. And again, I've already told you the reason why I want illegal immigration to stop. I want manufacturing jobs back. I don't want a party that's pro-abortion. And as I told you, I want them January 6 people released from prison. It's a crime. They're political prisoners. If I had any courage, I would have been in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. I wouldn't have entered the Capitol because that ain't me. I ain't climbing up all them steps, and I ain't pushing and shoving through no crowd. But I would have been there. And so I see those people as my people. They had a problem with politicians, and they went to go see the politicians they had a problem with. I respect that. And I didn't get that respect on January the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th. I respected them on January the 6th and started writing about it that day. Everybody else is overreacting and calling them. I listened to Republicans criticize them. I was like, what do you mean? They have a complaint with politicians, and they went to go see the politicians they had a problem with. Love it. No respect for Colin Kaepernick taking a knee on a football field, and he got a problem with the police and city council. Go to the police headquarters. Go to city council. Go see the people you got a problem with. That's what I respect. That's what men do. And so, anyway, I've gone on long. Next.
We have a super chat from Lee Hub, and then also a comment. This is in reference to you talking about no black people being in Trump's administration and how you felt about it. Hilliard says, The question is, Jason, are you saying that there is not a black person out there who has his values? And Lee Hub says, black representation is important. Sorry, Jason, and I voted for Trump.
Am I saying there's no black people qualified? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that 88% of black people voted for the abortion party. And so we're 13% of the population. 88% of us all basically have been convinced that Trump is the devil. So we reduced our pool of candidates significantly. And so anybody that woke up saying, hey, 13% of his cabinet or 10% of his cabinet or 12 or 8% of his cabinet is going to look like the demographic that overwhelmingly supported the abortion party is an idiot and just doesn't understand math. And it's no different than the argument I've made about football is let's go to the starting line. Everybody wants to talk about the finish line. Who's an NFL head coach? Who's in Trump's cabinet? Well, let's go all the way back to the starting line. Who got in the starting line to try to be an NFL coach, to try to be in Trump's cabinet? And so if there's 10 times as many as them than us at the starting line, don't expect us to be well represented at the finish line. And so until more of us stick to the values we proclaim we have and vote that way, I'm just not expecting the Republican Party to look in a color-coordinated fashion, and I don't really care because I want people in those positions who represent my values and will support Trump's policies that I've already told you that I like. Let's crush government overreach and let's eliminate a lot of these government jobs. I just want people, I believe Vivek and Elon will do that. I don't care what color they are. And so this whole, everybody's trying to get there with symbolism. Black representation matters. We had it with Obama. What did we get? We got same-sex marriage. What? I can't put it to you any clearer than that. We had Obama and Michelle. What did we get? Same-sex marriage. Y'all want more of that? I don't. I want less of it. And I don't care what the people look like that give me less of that. You worry about it.
I did wonder, though, when I saw that picture, and I didn't know if I was doing that because I've become
you've been
accustomed to look at it that way.
You have been.
But I did notice it, you know.
And here's why, Butter, and this is why I can't stand these people. They have eliminated, merit isn't the goal, diversity is the goal. And so now we're evaluating things on how does it look, then how does it act, how does it behave, what policies does it push forward. See, I'm someone, I don't care what color Jesus Christ is. I don't care to know. Who knows what color he was, or maybe he has no color. I don't know. I don't care. And these people clearly do, and they want it real easy. Oh, how come Condoleezza Rice didn't get a job? Or how come this Ben Carson, who knows, maybe he'll get an appointment, maybe he won't. He won't. But I don't believe in just handing them out on a color code because I've already seen what that looks like. And two, I know how irrelevant it is. It's irrelevant. And the results, I'm telling you, we had great color representation for 8 years. Maybe the guy that super chatted me or DM got what they wanted out of that. Maybe those two guys are married to each other. Hats off to you, congratulations. Next.
I'm just going to read 3 super chats. They aren't really questions, but I will say I would have been a pretty fun press secretary, Jason. So
I agree. It would have been a little X-rated though from time to time, but
Cowpoke Ranch left a super chat. Thank you. He says defense wins championships. Doug Nalick or something says Mama Whitlock nailed it this weekend on her picks. 5-0. Brag about it, Jason.
Oh, wow. Hadley, you should have kept me abreast of that.
Mama Whitlock.
She nailed all. Oh, that's awesome. Next.
The Doran Williams Show says the LGBTQ is fiercely anti-gay, same as BLM is anti-black. They cause harm to society and then use gay people as a shield. To them, discord equals hate.
Well, thank you, Shamika, and thank you guys for the super chats. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the last one. It's a question to Butter.
Oh.
Can you ask Butters if he's ever eaten chili with cinnamon rolls? It's an Ohio thing.
Chili with cinnamon rolls.
It's not cinnamon rolls. They put cinnamon in the chili. It is some of the worst
Chocolate and cinnamon in the chili. I've heard coffee in the chili.
Is there some famous place? It's the worst chili I've ever had in my life. It's terrible.
Skyline chili.
Skyline. It's terrible. My brother lives in.
Over spaghetti.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I've never had it. I've never had cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah.
Anyway. All right. That's it.
That's it.
We're done. We'll play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be.